Well, nothing affects the economy more than interest rates. And the Federal Reserve adjusts the interest rates several times throughout the year. We've been in a unique period during the pandemic where they actually brought interest rates down to zero. And they've been like that for 2 years. But today, for the first time in over 2 years, they raised the interest rate a quarter of a percent. So, what does that mean and why would you do it? Well, it means that they want to slow down the economy because inflation is high and they want to slowly try to calm that down without putting us into a recession. And as you raise interest rates, payments for things such as housing or cars, they become higher because the loan costs more because the interest rate is higher, and therefore it slows down demand. And so it's one way to slow down the economy. When I bought a house, the interest rate was around 6%. For the past couple of years, it's been around 3%. In the 1970s, interest rates were 15%. So housing is a big part of the economy. It creates jobs in construction and townships. Good to see you, Justin. Shout out to Palm Beach County. And very high housing prices there. Just a couple years ago, I was looking at something in that area, and it pretty much doubled. And housing has not been at an inflation rate of 7-8%. There's some houses I've looked at in the past couple years that they're double, 100% inflation. So one thing you should learn about economics is just that the main driver is interest rates with regards to the general economy and the direction the government is trying to take it. When the government or the Federal Reserve, which is basically regulated by the government, when it lowers the interest rates, there is a major risk, major fear that we're going to go into a recession or we're in a recession, and they want to spur economic growth. The economy is transactions every time you buy something, whether coffee or whether a house, because that means that on the other end of your purchase is someone selling you something, and now you have two people or more, and you're creating a transaction. And the person you're buying something from may have workers. So all these things, all these transactions create economic activity. Economic activity means that you're growing. When there's less economic activity because people are fearful and there's not a lot of opportunity, people buy less and there's less opportunity. So when they raise interest rates, they say there's too much activity, it's causing too much inflation, and it will create too many imbalances in society. Like everything in society, if there's not enough balance, if there's too much extreme, it will create an imbalance, and that could create a problem systemically long term. So it's a gradual increase, quarter of a percent. It's not going to crash the housing market. It's not going to crash the stock market. It actually went up today. And that's their goal. They've never been able to achieve slowing down an economy that has high inflation, high growth without going into a recession. Because technically a recession gets money out of the system. When the economy slows down, demand slows down and people have less money. You know, many people say, I want the housing market to crash. Well, if the housing market crashes, that means you're even more fearful than ever that you're not going to have a job, and you're not going to be confident enough maybe to buy a house. So you want it to slow down because you don't want the economy to grow to the point where nobody can afford a house. But you don't want it to be where there's so many houses for sale, no one wants to buy a house because there's so much fear. There's a balance. They said right now there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person. If you're unemployed right now and you don't want to work, there's 2 jobs waiting for you. But if you don't want to work, you just don't want to work. So remember, the biggest part of the economy is your effort. The biggest part of the economy is how you manage your money. The biggest part of your economy, what you control, is your drug habits, your gambling, your relationships, your children. Because even when we went through a recession last time, I remember blaming the government and things. I got laid off. But I looked at my life. I was living above my means, and I had to get some things in order. So I'm not saying external factors don't matter, but I want to say look at your effort. Look at how you're managing money. Look at your habits and figure out, are you in a recession or are you doing great? and then look at your habits. And then if you do that, interest rates will not matter as much. You'll be more focused on asset allocation rather than desperation. And that's what interest rates do. They create different asset allocation. They want to try to slow down people getting into risky assets and get demand down a little bit. So we'll see how it plays out. But that's something I wanted to share with you. Good to see you, Murdoch. Good evening, Sam. Nice to see you this evening. You too. Hope you're well and had a great day of self-care. Yes. Blessings to you, my brother. Blessings back. Doug, my member too. Hey, Sam. How was the full submersion in Atlantic Ocean? Good, I did it, but I had to push myself to get to the ocean. Why? Because we're all lazy, and if you don't get intense, if you don't push yourself, you'll just sit in your house, be burnt out from taking a nap. You can get burnt out from doing nothing. You got to push yourself. And if you're unwilling to push yourself, depression, poverty, and every negative thing you can think about comes to you. Because if someone else has to push you, you're going to fight with them. And so you got to learn to push yourself. And so that's what I did. A lot of people say I want to live by the beach, but what I've always told people, and Justin will testify to this, a lot of people live by the beach, but not too many people fully submerge in it daily or even weekly. Why? Laziness. The human mind, and you need to push yourself. So it's true. You can have everything right by you, but you know, I watched a video, and I understand because I've been young, of someone, another YouTuber I watch, and they were basically saying, she was saying that, yeah, I forced myself to sleep late. Well, that's, you forced yourself to be depressed. You forced yourself to feel bad about yourself. Because what I can tell you in life, don't lie to yourself. The longer you sleep, okay, you're not going to feel better. You're going to feel worse. Okay? You're going to be playing catch up your whole life. People, a lot of you say, no, I feel great after a nap. I feel great after sleeping. Look at their life. Look at their life. Don't listen to my words. Look at their life. And chances are they got mental problems, money problems, or life problems. Now, we all got problems. But life is about trying to be better. What I've found in life is your sleeping patterns determine so much about your life. They really do. Okay. More than interest rates. You know, the Federal Reserve raised the interest rates for the first time in almost 3 years. When's the last time you went without taking a nap during the day? When's the last time you woke up at 5 a.m.? When's the last time you pushed yourself? Because that's going to determine your economy more than interest rates. You know, like right now, right? Let's say you're a lazy sloth and you do just enough to get by. Do interest rates going up or down affect you? Nope. Nope. Why? Because the biggest driver of your economy is you. And there's never going to be anything different than that. Why? Because, guys, there's no way you're going to create a world where you reward people for taking a nap. Or you reward people for, you know, whatever. And even if you're going to be a creative artist, right? Creativity comes from doing. You know, yeah, if you fully submerge in Atlantic Ocean, you may get a revelation. You may get more inspired to make some good content. If you take a nap, I doubt you're going to wake up from your nap and say, I got a great video idea. You're not. So you don't have to have a conforming job. I always tell people that. I don't want you to feel like you got to work in a ditch or do that. But I want to tell you, energy creates energy. You know, and so you gotta figure out what you got to do to motivate yourself. Now, if you're listening to this and you're 75 and you're elderly or something like that, everyone's different. Okay? But I want to tell you, for the vast majority of people, interest rates are not affecting your life more than your sleeping habits, your spending habits, your alcohol habits, your drug habits, your food habits. And that's what I've learned in life. Okay? It makes it real simple. Definitely. Doug, I had to push myself to go to work today. Glad you did. Why? What's the alternative? Always reverse engineer your life. If you don't go to work, you feel worse about yourself, you get less money, you're more likely to get laid off. The biggest career advice I would give anyone, show up consistently, smile, and stay out of trouble. That will at least get you a paycheck the rest of your life. Then after that, you put a little effort, you get a little certifications, then you go up. But just start at the basics. Show up, smile, stay out of trouble. And because if you don't want to do that, guys, we got some war refugees coming from Ukraine. Ukraine, they'll take your spot. Why? Hey, because they know what it is to have it bad, and they know that you got it good. Okay, and I'll tell you right now, if I was there's no good part about a war, but if I was someone in the Ukraine, if I had family, I'd tell them, go to a first world country, don't go back and fight. In my opinion, do what you want. And I would say, if you can basically get, after 5 years, you can get your citizenship. I looked up what it is to be a war refugee. And I would say just work any job and just show up, smile, work hard. You'll do better than most lazy Americans. Why? Because look, when you got it good, you know, people get lazy. Okay. I'll tell you right now, you take some destitute people in America, you put them in Ukraine, they'll be dead in one day. I'll tell you right now, guys, they got no fight left in them. Okay. Now, I want to tell you guys, I'm not going over to fight. Why? Like I said, guys, there's so much politics involved with that. And what I've discovered in life is when you're in an environment where people aren't looking for peace, I don't know, I recognize there's been some conflicts throughout history that has made life, it's hard to say better, but look, at the end of the day, do what you want. But what I found in life is there's certain environments, guys, that have a certain, just like you go to certain neighborhoods, just like you visit certain family members. I'm not saying certain neighborhoods, certain people can't change, but like I know. There's certain people and there's certain places that it's going to take 20 generations, and even then it's a crapshoot if they're going to ever change. And so just avoid it. Okay, work on yourself. Okay, forget about interest rates. Let's go all live comments. Di, what's up, Di? Shout out to you and your daughter. Hey, Sam. Hey, everyone. Good to see you, Di. Keep doing house cleaning right now, guys. Big money. Di does house cleaning and she does DoorDash, her and her daughter. I want to tell you right now, what do you do if you have no college education? Go to the dollar store, get a bunch of cleaning supplies, and clean houses. But chances are, right now, the Federal Reserve said there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person. If you're not working now, your main problem is you may have mental problems. Because to not work and you don't have money and you're in an environment like now, interest rates are none of your concern. You kind of hope we go into a recession because maybe get another stimulus. So this, that's not going to help you. Doug, the best part of my job is when I make a positive impact in my customers' lives and hope is given. Well, that's good if you can find something you're passionate about and direct deposit, because while you do something positive and productive for society, that's work, you should get rewarded. Why? Because you're doing something positive and productive for society, whether it's work at Starbucks, Home Depot, a corporation, the government, whatever. You're providing a service to society. If no one provided any services, society would have nothing. Peter, do you think DoorDash is a good full-time option? No, because what I found is if you're waiting for DoorDash to be your full-time job, you're currently not working. And if you do DoorDash, you're going to have a low acceptance rating, and you're not going to make a couple $1,000s a year. You're not going to have enough money to replace your car and make repairs. And you're an independent contractor. You're not going to have the money management skills for most people to manage it like a business. And even if you manage everything right, and even if you put a lot of effort, it's still going to top out between $15 to $20 an hour on average in a good market. And that's the top you ever go. So I'm not saying that's bad. It's great as a side hustle. For some people, they may have other sources of income, then it's good. But for people who aren't doing anything in an environment where there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person, I think that DoorDash is the ultimate lie to themselves. It's the ultimate illusion. And having the red card and the red bag and doing DoorDash doesn't just automatically put money in your pocket. It's still work. To me, I delivered pizza before Dash. I worked before DoorDash. I only did DoorDash as a supplement test to have another source of income if I needed to. And what I found out is it's fun, but it's work. And most people try to think that it's an easy way to just make easy money. And even though it's an option, it's still, you have to show up and put effort and manage it. And for the very mentally low energy people, get a night shift job as a constant source of income and then DoorDash on the side. A night shift job, checking someone in at Planet Fitness, a night shift job as a security officer, and then do DoorDash on the side because you're probably only going to make a few deliveries a day. But if you have a steady job working the night shift where you ain't going to have to do much, you ain't going to have to deal with much politics, now you'll get a steady income, and then you can supplement your steady low income with DoorDash. That would be my number one recommendation to prevent burnout for people that don't have the mental tenacity or wherewithal to go higher up. I've worked a night shift. I work DoorDash. So I'm not talking down. I'm talking from experience. I push myself to go a little bit further, but I recognize that some people don't have that desire or ability, but everyone has some ability. And if you don't have some ability, I always say, then what are you doing on YouTube? How'd you create an account? How can you type sentences? If you have no ability, then check yourself into the mental asylum, because you're basically saying you cannot manage your own life. You need someone else to manage your life. You can't have it both ways. Either you're an adult and you can live independently, or you have to live with someone else, live with their rules, keep your mouth shut, and thank God that you have free internet in their house. That's the way. That's how you got to kind of think about it in your mind. Love to you. Again, Justin, shout to you. Doug, shout to you. I appreciate you guys. Doug, the best. All right, I'm sorry. Click that thumbs up, guys, if you appreciate these videos. I show up every day. A lot of people want to be YouTubers. They don't show up every day. They don't treat it like a job, just like DoorDash. And they may start out like a bat out of hell, but then they go right back to hell. Why? Consistency. So I always tell you guys, that's what I've learned in life too. It's like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that. That's great. You got to keep doing it. If you don't keep doing it, you're going to treat it like everything else in life. It's just going to be another thing that you put a half-ass effort, and that maybe you do have mental problems. But then again, maybe you have to just, give it up and stop working completely. Have I seen people do that? Yeah. What happened to their mental health? It got worse. What happened to their money? It got worse. What happened to their drug habits? It got worse. So, but what should you do? Whatever you want, because you don't live with me. So I'm not giving you a diagnosis, but this is my experience from what I've seen and the people I've known. There's always exceptions. Doug, socks over wars. Yeah, look, I think there's some people that just want conflict. Again, I kind of stated that. I do think masturbation is healthy, but again, there's some people, even if they masturbate, they're still not happy. What I heard Putin say today is they got some traitors from the inside now, and they got to be basically exterminated. So look, there's no doubt about it. He's not a good person, not of good character, doesn't treat people properly. There's no doubt about it, though. Zelensky, Ukraine, America, all the powers to beat China. I think they let the situation get out of hand, but it doesn't excuse Putin either. So it's a sad situation. But all I could tell you, like I always tell you, look at recurring patterns. Okay? They've been fighting, and Russia's been a communist country pretty much since the beginning of documented history. That's always been like that in that region of the world, just like the Middle East. So does that mean that every person in that area is bad? Does it mean that you can never live a great life? Does it mean that, same thing with the Middle East? No, but it means if you can get an option to get the fuck out of Dodge, get the fuck out of Dodge. Get a war refugee thing. Now you don't have to marry an American. Get the fuck out of Dodge. My grandparents came from Italy, which is in that general area. Get the fuck out of Dodge. Okay, so, again, everyone should do whatever they want. Okay. But to me, the only positive I see from this, which I hate to bring a positive out of war, but this is the world we live in, is I would say, again, get that fucking war refugee statute, man, and run, because they're just giving that shit out now. And you got to strike when the iron's hot, because if they get peace and they stop accepting refugees, now you got to rebuild Ukraine. And you got to rebuild Russia. It's going to be a disaster for years. And they're going to fight again. It ain't over. Just like it wasn't over with Crimea or wasn't over with the Soviet Union. You say, well, once we kill Putin, it'll be over. Well, guys, what happened when we killed bin Laden? Is Afghanistan better now? I don't know. They don't talk about it in the news, but who knows what's going on there? Is Iraq better? Is Libya better? Is Syria better? To me, I was like wondering during the pandemic, why don't they talk about any of these places that always have conflict? And then like when they had war right after the pandemic, it's like, so who knows? So I'm not saying there may be some great areas in some of these spots, but I just try. It's, to me, again, it's just like, from my experience in life, if there's a bad area, there's a lot of reasons, and you ain't gonna be able to solve them all. So the whole thing about life is move to a good environment, okay? And that's your job as an adult to figure out. And if you have the option, strike when there's an option. Because these are the type of things that the interest rates don't affect. This is your ability to adapt. The number one book I recommend you read is Who Moved My Cheese by Dr. Spencer Johnson. It's a simple movie about adapting and changing. Some people will not leave an area, not because they don't have opportunity. It's because their mind won't let them change. Okay. And so, like a lot of times people give me the sad story about this or that or this history. It's all valid. But what's also valid is what'd you do today? You can tell me about history and about all this badness and that, but I want to know, in a world where you probably are watching this on the internet, In a world where there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person, what'd you do today? Don't tell me about history, because you're creating history every day you do nothing. History matters. Everything matters. But again, you need to acknowledge it, but then you need to do what you need to do for you and move forward. Because, you can't live in the past forever. You got to go forward. So, but some people, they just can't accept that. And so, die. I like that emoji. It is an average of $15 to $20 per hour for DoorDash. Then minus your expenses, it's more of a part-time job. Yep, she's done it. It's too many miles on my car. Yep, that's the other thing you have to think about. Eventually, you need to make that capital investment in another car. True. Good job, Di. Oh, what's up, Jimmy? Jimmy, a recession is when the guy in the parking lot next to you loses his job. Yeah, and then they say a depression is when you lose your job. I know people that got laid off in the last year. But they got another job. So I know people that got laid off and didn't look for another job. I know people that quit and didn't look for another job. So again, the Federal Reserve said they're raising the interest rates 0.25%. They said on average, there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person. So the labor market is fully, basically, anyone who wants a job has one. You say, well, it may not be the job I wanted. Well, again, you're talking to a guy who took any job when he didn't have one. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that's how you move up. That's how you get going. It's like anything, right? It's like you don't say, well, I'm not in shape, so I'm not going to just go for a walk. Yeah, well, going for a walk's not going to cure everything, but it's a start to get your body in motion. It's like, that's what I always tell you. That when in doubt, just go for a walk, get your body moving. You're not going to outthink depression. You're not going to outthink poverty. You actually got to do something. And if you don't get that, like I say, you're probably mentally ill and you may have to go into a hospital. Doug, as a side hustle, which do you prefer? Pizza delivery or DoorDash? DoorDash. Why? Independent contractor. Even though I accepted 90% of all deliveries, I still like the ability. Like for me, again, through my experience, when I worked at a pizzeria, I worked for them. I was an independent contractor. When I wasn't delivering food, I had to stack the shelves and I had to stack the soda machine. I had to fold boxes for the pizzas. I had to do shit or clean. And I was thankful for the job. I didn't bitch. I took it. I was thankful. I had nothing else at that time. But DoorDash, you could pick and choose your orders. Again, you gotta, in my opinion, to make it work, you gotta do 90% of all orders, acceptance rating. And the other thing is, look, you can log off or log on when you want. You can go anywhere in the country pretty much and do it in a populated market. And the flexibility is unmatched, and someone's not breathing over your neck. But I'm a diligent person, so I manage my own shit. So I'd rather just do it on my own. DoorDash for the win. Melvano, what's up, man? And most pizzerias now, usually they use DoorDash. They don't have individuals. Melvano, I can remember 10.5% interest rates. Yep, there you go. Good job. On my first home in 1989. There you go, Milano. Excellent comment. In 1989, when Melvano bought his house, the interest rates were 10.5%. Now they're about 3.5%. When I bought my house, it was about 6%, and that was 20 years ago. So we're still at historic lows, even with a 0.25% interest rate. But they want to gradually slow the economy down to gradually bring down inflation. And they said they expect to raise the interest rates 7 times this year. And then into next year and the following year, that's when they're going to start to really continue to tighten if there's not a recession and really let the balance sheet run off even as soon as the second half of this year. So again, they did speak to a recession. They were asked, the Federal Reserve was asked, what's the chance of the recession? Because again, usually to get rid of inflation, you got to cause a recession through high interest rates. They said, well, we still feel that the recession is going to have a low probability because we're going to gradually raise interest rates and we're going to evaluate it at each meeting. The only factor is obviously war or pandemic or something like that, right, that you can't foresee. So we'll see how it happens. Thank you again. Yes, as Andres says, if you haven't already, click that thumbs up. Share the video. Thank you to all my members. Justin, Doug, you want to be a member, click that blue join button. Murdoch, click that thumbs up. Thank you, Doug. People in countries start doing what they always did once the pandemic waned. Yeah, I don't know. I think the pandemic changed some things forever. Would it change forever? I think you're going to have more remote work than ever before. That really accelerated that. To me, that's a positive. I think that it caused a relocation of people because of that reason, where they changed locations. I think that's, people don't move that much. Once you buy a new house, you move to a new area, usually you're there for at least 10 years. That's the average. What else did the pandemic cause? Well, caused some people to decide, all right, I'm old enough now, I'm just going to retire. And it caused some people to just quit their job and drop out of the workforce, even though they're still at an age. Eventually, they'll burn up their money and they'll come back in the workforce, but maybe they'll spend a season of their life traveling. I always say the problem with that is once you get out of the workforce, hard to get back in, and you're going to start at the bottom. So if you do that, don't complain if you're old and destitute, because I don't want to hear it. Because every person I meet that is older now and doesn't have money, I ask them, what'd you do for a career? How long did you work? Because there's a reason. Now, again, there was a generation of women that there wasn't equal opportunity, and they got a divorce. But even my mom, she worked her whole life, even after that, and worked all the way up to the age of 72. So 3 jobs sometimes. So I don't know. Everyone's different though. So, but what I can tell you is everything is relative, okay, to how you manage your life more than interest rates. If you don't really put a lot of effort, this is part of self-care. Self-care is not just going to the gym. Self-care is not just living by the beach. Self-care is figuring out how to manage your money, how to put output to get income, or how to manage investments if you're going to do that. But that's risky. So be careful living off investments. You better have 5 years worth of tax returns to prove that you can manage money well before you quit any job. And starting a business is risky. I had 3 businesses. The electrical business did well, but what I could tell you is I just wasn't passionate enough to make that my full-time job. And and everything is work. Like I always say, guys, DoorDash is work, YouTube's work, having your own business is work. And so you got to kind of figure out what you want to do. But the hardest thing in life, guys, is not having any money and your health. So, Alex, I hear you. I flipped many burgers in my early days. Nothing wrong with that. Love to you, Alex. Thank you for the comment. Doug, maybe I'll just do Lowe's as a side job. Nothing wrong with that. I looked at Lowe's at one time to be an electrical pro. At that time, that was like 3 years ago. Not more than that. Probably like 5-7 years ago. They were paying like $25 an hour. But I just, I didn't do it. I was just looking for a side hustle. And at that time, to me, a side hustle more fits me as something that I can do on my own time, like DoorDash, like YouTube. And I just focused more on my career. Because like I tell you, you don't want to have 2 side jobs and no main job. Why? Because you're always going to be at the bottom of the workforce. You're not going to have really any leverageable certification. And if you focus all your energy on one main career job, at least for a season of your life, you're going to move up. It's going to get easier. You're going to have more leverage in the workforce. You're going to get paid more. And that's why I tell you guys, a broken focus is a broken wallet, because you got to focus on one thing, a career thing, and then leverage off of that. Because 2 side hustles basically means you dating 2 hoes, and none of them are really going to help you. Okay. They're just a side piece, whether man hoe or woman hoe. And I'm using that as a parable, as an example to get your attention, because I know you have ADHD. But what I could tell you guys, if you got ADHD, that means you got some energy, because you go like this, that. But you got to focus that energy. Why? Because if not, then you got to go into a mental institution. Okay. And if you don't want to do that, you only got 2 options in life. Got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Andreas, to all delivery gig workers, try out Amazon deliveries. Good pay. 4 days a week, lots of overtime, and you drive an Amazon van. I applied yesterday and got an appointment for tomorrow. Well, after you've done it for a year, then recommend it. But right now, what I've learned is it's a good option, and I appreciate you sharing. But I've met many people, they sign up for all these things. They don't do them consistently. And if you look at what they did before those things, they had the same track record of starting something and not seeing it through. So just be careful. Look at your recurring patterns, Andreas. If you have a recurring pattern of quitting jobs, starting jobs, you're probably going to do the same thing with Amazon. But Amazon's a good option. Just be honest with yourself about that. And check in with us a year after you've done it. Doug, Cartoon Mark was a bit out of breath walking today. Good job, Mark. Yeah, look, better to be out of breath and walk than to basically be sleeping and dying. So, get that body moving. Murdoch. God willing, you will get the job, Andreas. Well, God willing, you will look at your recurring patterns. You will be honest with yourself, and you'll stick with something, and you'll fight through that little bit of resistance, because, that's what you really got to be honest about. D, There won't be a country by next year. They just gave $1 billion to Ukraine to cover up their crimes. Well, D, one is you don't know everything going on. Everyone has guilt on their hands with that. Two is go back to rule number one. You don't know everything going on. And so all I can tell you, be thankful that you're in a first world country. Because what your mindset, I doubt you give value to this country. What do you do for a living and what's your attitude? You have a very bad attitude. That was a very negative comment for the only comment you left in the live chat. So, to me, it shows more about your character, that comment, the first one you left in here, than it says about another country. Andreas, thanks. Murdoch, Anonymous. I'm unblocked. Well, for now, I'm going to read your comment and then I'll evaluate it. I'm 32. Have a net worth of $140. I like these little monthly long retirement jobs. Enjoy your life. You don't live with me. Powell said as he thought he won't have a recession. Yeah. Best of luck to you. So all I can tell you guys, in a world where there's anonymous people online, in a world where there's 2 jobs for every unemployed person, in a first world country, when the Federal Reserve raised interest rate 0.25%, and they said the likelihood of a recession is still very low, but we need to slow down the economy a little bit because inflation is a little too high, and we have some uncertainty with Ukraine. You didn't upset me. I'm sorry if I upset you, but I'm just being honest. Because why am I saying that, Anonymous? Well, your first sentence is I'm unblocked. So that shows me, one is you may have already been blocked. So it shows me you have a recurring pattern of us not vibing. And then 2 is you went right into your net worth. So I don't understand that, but that's okay. I understand that some people like to be anonymous and some people like to share that. Like I say, it is what it is, guys. I have no hatred in my heart. I want everyone to live a great life. So no disrespect given, none taken. Clinton. Hey, man, the world being the crazy place, it's actually the most peaceful it's been in many centuries. It is when you find yourself getting low on yourself. To me, the only time you find yourself getting low on yourself is when you sleep all day and you're not productive and you're not focusing on what you can control. You're focusing on the world, which you can't control. How do you deal with depression? I just told you. You want to look at the world sad and you don't want to look at all the opportunities you have. That's your problem. And you can go to therapy. You can go see a social worker. It's not easy. I'm not speaking negative to you, but you have to be honest with yourself or it's just going to waste your life. The world, if you look at human history, is actually more peaceful, more opportunity, more availability than ever before to live a great life, especially if you're watching this, especially if you have the internet, especially if you have a mind to comprehend and type a coherent comment, which you did. So I'm going to speak up to your potential, which your depression is self-induced. You sleep too much, you don't work enough, you don't take care of yourself well enough. You need to build your life and stop worrying about other countries in the world. Will you do that? It's up to you. I hope you do. Because I don't want to hurt people. I want to help people. But ultimately, it's all of our decisions in life. And every day is a battle. You got to be focused every day. There's some days I slip up. There's some things I still want to improve on my life. So if you ever disengage in that focus, you're going to go right back in. And when you have a depressed day, still show up. Why? Again, depression doesn't get solved by sleeping more or doing less. It doesn't. Now, you can lie to yourself, but it's just a lie. So I hope my videos help you in some way. I thank everyone for watching. If you haven't already, click the thumbs up. I want to thank you again, Justin, for everything. It was great meeting you in person, too. A love to you. Thank you again, Doug, all my members out there. Everyone who left a comment tonight, I truly appreciate you. Clinton, I love you. I'm praying the best for you. Thank you. D, you grow your own food and feed people? Well, people don't need you to feed them. Why? Because there's a Walmart everywhere. They don't want your food. And I doubt that you grow your own food because it's a lot of work. What'd you eat today for dinner? Don't lie to me. What'd you eat for breakfast? Okay. What are you doing right now? What'd you do all day? Okay. I doubt you grew your own food and you got the internet and you're typing in this live chat. Okay. And even if you did, I don't want your food and most people don't. Why? Because the very poorest among us in America have EBT cards. Okay. And I don't see anyone with an EBT card, okay, going to buy your homegrown food. They're going to the supermarket to buy food with that. So basically what you're telling me is you isolated yourself like Putin. You have that mindset like that. And it's just a negative isolationist mindset where it's not in reality. There's some delusion and negativity. Again, no disrespect, but both of your comments have basically described an isolated person who watches the news and hopes for the worst in the world So you've built up this nuclear bomb cocoon in your mind, really, and you think that you're going to be the only one to survive. But even if you're the only one to survive, I mean, it's not like you win a prize. You just win a worse life than what you have now. You actually have a great life now. And there's actually mostly peace in the world. But you don't want to acknowledge the good in the world. You want to focus on the bad, grow your own food, and wait for nuclear war. What should you do? Whatever you want. No, I don't want to live that life. Okay. I want to live my best life. I want the best for people. If that's your best life and that makes you happy, do you. Okay. But I want people to be out of depression. I want people to be out of negativity. I want you to acknowledge it. We don't live in a fairy tale world, but we don't live in hell either. Okay. Definitely not if you're watching this, type in comments in a live chat. Okay. If you live in the worst part of the world right now, you're not watching this. That's the fact. Okay. So let's be honest about it. Okay. Peace, love. Thank you for watching.